What's up, everybody? It's your boy Phil Robinson III here for another edition of the Unfiltered Truth. This is the Week 11 recap, and we will break down the fabulous, lovely game against the Bengals. What's good, everybody? How's everybody doing? Phil Jones is out handling his business, so it's me flying solo. What's happening, y'all? Give everybody couple more seconds, a little bit of time to hop in here before we get started with this stuff. Ooh, gotta fix that so we're not looking at my. There we go. What's good? You know it. You know it. Hey, girl. No, I'm kidding. That's how we're gonna start it out, huh? Derek Carr is the Antichrist. I wouldn't quite go that far, but you know. All right, give it a couple more seconds, and then we'll roll this up here and get it going. What's going on, Jim? How you doing? How was Vegas? All right, 3 minutes in, it's time for us to get this show on the road and talk about all of this good stuff. Uh the Raiders had a game against the Cincinnati Bengals, one at home, one that was a very winnable game, one that they should have dominated, quite frankly, for all of the people who would say let's put this one squarely on the defense. You go over the numbers, and it's really hard to put this loss on the defense, even though they made a lot of stupid plays, committed a lot of penalties that gave continue to extend Bengals drives even when they shouldn't have. The final score ended up being 32-13, but all the way through the third quarter, it was 13-6. So anything that you could say bad about the defense, yeah, they gave up that touchdown, which they had no business doing. But let's be real, they held them to 13 points over three quarters, and the offense only put up six. Um, going over the stat lines for the Bengals, Joe Burrow was 20 of 29 for 148 yards with a touchdown. Joe Mixon had 30 rushes for 123 yards, two touchdowns, and Taj Boyd was the leading receiver with six receptions for 49 yards. And then you look at what the Raiders did against this vaunted Cincinnati defense that is so highly ranked against nothing. Derek Carr was 19 of 27 for 215 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. Josh Jacobs improved on his 7 rush for 16-yard performance with 9 rushes for 37 yards. Darren Waller had his best game since the first game of the season and caught 7 balls for 116 yards and no touchdowns. So those are your offensive stats. Don't forget the fumble pop. We'll get to that. We'll get to that, Nick. You ain't even got to trip about that. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. So a lot of you are coming in looking for some information that I alluded to earlier in a space. Yeah, I'll get to that. We're gonna get to that. There's plenty of rumors circulating in Raider Nation. Plenty of rumors. And like Raider Rich said, if this your first time, don't let it be the last. Hit subscribe, like it, love it, come back and talk to me some more. Um Going into this game, I looked at the tape on Cincinnati. Cincinnati has had a lot of bad losses. They've played all of their wins have come against crap opponents, which doesn't speak highly of the Raiders, but when they only scored 13 points, it is what it is. They got beat by the Jets. I still couldn't believe that when I watched it. Um, and I look at Joe Burrow, and this is gonna sound crazy. This is gonna sound really crazy, and like I'm trying to just say stuff just to say it, but I really believe it. Joe Burrow reminds me of a pre-2016 Derek Carr back when he had all his talents at their peak. When he was slinging the ball all over the place, completing it into tight windows, using his legs to get extend plays, to get open, get first downs, to move around and keep the chains moving, just doing everything that he can to win a game no matter what happens. Burrow took shot after shot. He took them late. He took them in the knee. He took them all over the place. But one thing was certain, he kept getting up. He stayed focused and he continued to deliver for his team. And quite simply, the Raiders did not. Once again, the Raiders only converted one third down in the game. And the last two games, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they are now 2 for 16 on third down conversions. 2 for 16. In a grand scheme of things, the Raiders defense didn't give up 300 yards. They only gave up 288. But the offense only produced 278 and a lot less points. The red zone defense, the red zone offense continues to be absent. That's about the nicest, most professional, calmest way that I can say it, because I know right now there's a lot of people who are unhappy in Raider Nation, and they should be, because this red zone offense isn't going to cut it. It's pitiful, it's pathetic, and it it's frustrating to everybody, players included, fans, coaches. It's hard to watch when on the opening drive your defense goes out, gets you a turnover. Yannick Ngakoue was playing like a man possessed, coming off the edges. He's getting to the quarterback, he's beating the tackles, he's running the play down from behind. He got to the quarterback numerous times, but on that first drive, he creates a turnover, gets the ball inside of the red zone, I believe he gets the ball inside the 10-yard line. 3 plays later, we're kicking a field goal. That's how the game started for the Raiders. 3 plays in, they're given an absolute gift. 3 plays later, they hand it back to Cincinnati, say, nah, it's cool, we don't want it, and then proceed not to score for the rest of the quarter. I don't know how much more you can count on a defense to do. They held a team to 13 points for 3 quarters, got you multiple turnovers, and they get nothing because of it. They get nothing from it. They got 3 points, which I believe they turned around and gave back up the next possession, and they were right back to square one. All the momentum that they had built with their fantastic play early, gone. Why? Because once again, the offense shit the bed in the red zone and on third downs when they needed to produce the most. Time of possession is a huge stat that continues to get overlooked. I wrote about it a couple weeks ago in an article for the Ramble saying Raiders Week 10 red alert. And at that point, the Raiders were averaging about 34 34 minutes a game on defense through the last 4 games. And against the Bengals, they were on the field for 37 minutes and 20 seconds. That's nearly 3 quarters, 3 whole quarters. 7 minutes and 40 seconds off of 3 whole quarters of defense playing football. Offense had the ball for 22 minutes and 40 seconds. I don't care who you are. I don't care what position, where you stand in the whole argument with what's going on with the offense and who should be starting, who should be playing. 22 minutes and 40 seconds on offense is not enough time to win football games in the National Football League. It's just not. And you can say a lot of things. You could say, oh, they had 2 turnovers. You could say this, you could say that about the rushing game. This team is completely lost. They're lost. On offense, they are lost. So they can't pass, they can't get open. When they do get open, they can't get a throw in. They can't run. You see one or two runs a game that look where the running back looks spirited and angry, and then you go back to seeing absolutely nothing. People running in the back of the linemen, no holes. It's hopeless. They look hopeless. And for the love of God, will Derek Carr get off the bench and go hang out with his teammates? Show me for the last 3-4 weeks now. You look at all of the sideline views about the Raiders. You don't see a teammate in sight anywhere near him. You don't see him looking at the Surface Pro trying to read what the defense is doing. You don't see him encouraging anybody. You don't see anybody around him. It is a problem. This team has gone through a lot already with all of the off the field stuff that they've had to deal with, all of the rumors that continue to pop up, some of the things that have been confirmed and that you've seen. And why is that? I don't know. But the coaching staff has changed. We all blame Gruden for everything. It's been amazing how Gruden is the ultimate blame for everything. And he may have been the straw that stirs the drinks, and he may have had veto power over a lot. But if you really believe that Gruden is the only person that's doing anything, was the only person doing anything in that organization, you're wrong. There's no way that he could do that. There's just not. Um, and despite this hot and heavy start, the the Raiders have managed to find a way to get away from doing everything that got them the victories that they had early in the season. They keep trying to run the ball when it's not working. They've gone back to the arc bunch formation where you got two twins to the left and then the tight bunch to the right. The one that was allowing defenses to crowd the line of scrimmage and confuse the offensive line. Um, it's been it while the blocking has been better, it has been much better than it was. It's been far from perfect as well. And when the blocking breaks down towards the latter half of the season, your boy Carr breaks down with it, and it just isn't. It's not good. Now, in his most recent, I won't say his most recent press conference because that was the one he did maybe about 30 minutes ago, and said absolutely nothing except for the toting the company line of we're gonna tighten up what we can do. We're gonna do the little things, pay attention to details, tell people to stop having late dinner reservations, partying all night on the strip, and to get up and come to work and be ready to do their job. 2 weeks in a row now, we've heard it's all on me. Blame me. I'm your guy. Said it all starts with me. We need to get better at XYZ, and we're not getting it done. I'm not getting it done. And at some point, you got to believe them. At what point do you believe them? We're now looking at year 8. We've been hearing the same song for the last 4 years, ever since Gruden got here. We've heard all of the things about what Derek Carr doesn't have, what Derek Carr needs, what Derek Carr wants, who hasn't been here, who has been here. And we've heard about Mariota and how Mariota is this bum, how Mariota can't do anything, how Mariota is just this guy. And I asked this question on Twitter and nobody has been able to answer it. I've asked this to regular fans. I've asked this to Carr stands. I've asked this to people who know Carr. I've asked this to beat writers, and nobody has provided an adequate answer to this question. And so I'll pose it to all of you. Why is it that Carr gets a pass for all of these issues that aren't his fault, But if you look at career trajectories and where they were side by side, Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr are the same guy. Without a doubt, 100%. They were both exciting young players who were leading the team, who were trending up in the right direction until they broke the same leg on the same day, Christmas Eve of the same season, while they were fighting for the same playoff spot because I believe they had the exact same record. And everybody will widely say, who's watched these two players, Carr and Mariota, that from the moment they broke their leg, right leg, they were never ever the same player. Ever. Okay. So that's 2016 putting you on equal footing. Mariota's had 3 playoff games. Carr hasn't had one. Mariota won a playoff game in Arrowhead. Carr got his first Arrowhead victory last year. So 1-7 in Arrowhead. 1-7. We say there's been all this talk about how Carr's never had help. Nobody's ever been out there to give him some assistance. Well, in 2017, the Oakland Raiders returned 6 Pro Bowlers from their 2016 team. 6. They had the most in the league with 7, and the only one that left was Latavius Murray in 2017. And they finished 4-9, fired the coach, fired everybody, and the season fell apart in week 3 against the Washington Redskins in DC. There has been a wide criticism of the coaching carousel, the scheme not fitting him, his talents, the offensive coordinator turnover, all of that. But I'll say 3 words to you that everybody forgets about when you talk about Marcus Mariota. And that is the exotic run game. And you guys remember that? The exotic run game. That was the description that Ken Wisenhunt had for his offense, where all they did, and I do mean all they did, was run the football in different ways. They were running DeMarco Murray into the ground before they got Derrick Henry. They were using Mariota in RPOs. And for when it came to throwing the football, they armed Marcus Mariota with Delaney Walker, who at that time was top tier elite tight end. He was that dude. Not gonna speak bad about Delaney Walker. He was that dude. A little on the older side because he had a lot of miles from San Francisco, but he still came to Tennessee and got it done. And they gave him a borderline number 2, number 3 wide receiver in Corey Davis. That was supposed to be his guy. And so armed with those 2 guys and an exotic run game, that was what Mariota had to work with in Tennessee for years. For years. Until the injuries mounted because they were running him like a running back nearly every single play. And they all started to point fingers at him and say that he wasn't the guy. And brought in Ryan Tannehill. And Ryan Tannehill came in and took the same Titans team to the playoffs. AFC Championship, 1 game short of the Super Bowl. And since then, Mariota has been dog doo-doo, name dragged through the mud. He's a bum. He can't do this. He can't do that. He can't stay healthy. He can't hold a candle to Carr. This ain't Carr. This ain't Mariota back at Oregon. Yeah, you've heard it all. And yet, you look at what Carr is out here doing. You look at what Carr has done for the last 3 years. You argue about is Carr consistent? He's inconsistent. I'd argue he's probably the most consistent quarterback you'd ever see in your life. He is a Mr. 50-50. His numbers fall at in between the 14 to 16 range throughout his entire career. He'll have one or two stats that'll get up there to the top 10 that'll have everybody say, but just his numbers, bro. He's top 10. But he's top 10 at what? He's top 10 at what? Throw yards. Yards could be inflated. Completion percentage. It's a it's a West Coast ball control style passing attack. Every pass is designed to be high completion percentage. The fact that he's throwing in the 60% completion rating for high percentage passes is questionable in itself. But alas, here we are. Um, and that it's gotten to a point with his teammates now where it's started to carry over. You've seen guys yelling at him on the field. You saw Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake get in his face and let him know what time it was when they ran that draw, when he audible to the draw on third down. Like who does and then his reasoning for it was to say that we ran it when Gruden was here and had success with it. Like Gruden hasn't been there for 3 weeks. So why would you bring that up now and say that, oh, well, we're going to do that on 3rd and 6. On third downs, they have a problem. Their problem is Derek never ever pushes the line to gain. All of his third down conversions are at least 5 yards short of the line of scrimmage is where the ball carrier ultimately gets the ball. And why you continue to expect guys to have to earn 5 yards to get a first down, 5 or less yards, because there were a lot of short third downs that didn't convert it this week as well. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And it's all too familiar. It's all too familiar. We've seen it time and time again. This is now the 3rd year in a row that you've seen a hot start followed by an absolutely tragic collapse. The check down king. That's what it's been. That's what it's been, is that he has his own time in his head to throw, and for whatever reason, coming off the bye, that bye scrambled it up. He went from trusting the line to having time, and they've been better, which is what I don't understand. And he's had time, and he sat back there and still just checked the ball down. Uh, what I've seen in the tape, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, his receivers aren't getting open." The play call is an interesting concept because we don't know what the play call is when Greg Olson sends it in from the sideline. What we do know is that Carr has autonomy at the line of scrimmage, and we've heard about it. He's spoken about it. The coaching staff has spoken about it. And a lot of the time, and a lot of the last 3 weeks, what you've seen has been old bad habits against teams that know his old bad habits against, and they've played him to be that person. The Chiefs ate him up with a game plan that they showed the same game plan they've showed all 8 years of his career. They he rarely looks for receivers in second windows. If you're not there out of the break, he's moving on to the next receiver. Usually that's good quarterback play. But when you have time to go back and look again, you need to do it rather than dump it off and hope your guys will pick up 5 yards when they're running into 3 tacklers. It, he's got to be better. There is no excuse for the level of play that you've seen out of Derek Carr. He was able to be elite with the guys on this team, and if you're telling me that Henry Ruggs was the difference, then I'm going to have to tell you you're wrong. Because for whatever reason, they're not playing Deshaun Jackson. For whatever reason, they don't even bring Deshaun Jackson in there to be a decoy. And every time Deshaun Jackson gets in, and if you run him as a decoy, your passing game opens up because you have space for your routes to develop. Right now, everybody's playing them short. Nobody's getting deep. You know, Carr's not going to hold the football long enough to throw it deep. And then when he throws it deep, he's fluttering it. The ball is hanging in the air forever. Forever. We're good. We're good. I don't know if you've caught that on. That usually means we're running. We're running. Check down to Jacobs in the red zone. Yes, Zay Jones was wide open. Zay Jones has been open a lot. Zay Jones's brother Caleb has been on Twitter battling with people, trying to educate him, trying to show just exactly what is really going on, what's being missed. Everybody's talking about the receivers can't get separation. The receivers can't get open. I throw on the tapes and I pause it at the top of Carr's drops. They don't look like they're having a problem getting open to me. But everybody's got a problem getting open when your quarterback is staring down receivers and throwing at the guy that he's staring at and not looking at anybody else. That is a problem that goes back to his scouting report coming out of Fresno State. And 8 years in, Carr is who he is, and he is exactly who he was scouted to be. He has a great mind for the game, and as long as everything is on schedule and in the play, he's fine. When it breaks down and when he needs to make something happen with his legs, it's just not there. It's just not there. And YOLO passes in the double coverage or in 50-50 balls is why guys don't seem to want to continue to play with him for too long. It's why his teammates are starting to turn against him. From what the real word around the campfire, and obviously I haven't talked to any players, so I can't confirm this directly. So it is that the locker room is split. There are those who are rocking with Carr and those who are not. And those who are not are becoming more and more numerous every day with every pass and loss, because you can say all the right things, but when it doesn't translate to W's on the field, talk is cheap, hope floats, and bullshit walks. Said all they want to see is winning. Winning fixes everything, but at this point, winning isn't going to fix what they got going on. It is obvious that the team has lost faith in him. It's obvious that there are disruptions with what's going on, and that there are people who will be happy to see him gone. And that brings us to the big news that I had in the space. So for the 20 people here, like and subscribe real quick so I can drop this off for you and let y'all know that Darren Waller, from what I've heard, has spoken to the powers that be and has said that it's a him or me situation with him and Derek Carr. Amari Cooper did not want to play with Derek Carr after year 3. The relationship that was with Crabtree eventually got bad. You look at what happened to Rod Streeter's career. Rod Streeter was a promising wide receiver. I liked him. You can say whatever you liked about him or not. But for all of the times, all of the 50-50 balls, all of the YOLO balls, all of the guys who were being hung out to dry consistently on a weekly basis, at some point, playing with Carr becomes an occupational hazard. There are better windows, better ways to get the football than how he delivers it. And the fact that guys are being missed when they're running wide open, it is frustrating to absolutely everyone. And receiver, because one thing that you got to remember is that Darren Waller is not young, not by NFL standards. Darren Waller is 29, 28, 29. Say he could play for quite a while remaining, but his best years are coming to an end, at least in terms of physical peak. And the fact that he's got the highest win rate against single coverage, but never gets the football is alarming to him and to all of Raider Nation. And the fact that he's come out and said this to whoever he said it to, because once again, like I said, I wasn't in the locker room. I can't say that. I haven't talked to any of the players, so I can't speak for him. I can only tell you what I've heard. And that when I heard that, I was just like, wow. Wow. It's one thing to you know what I'm saying, for fans to say it, for all the spec, but him or me is just was just like, yo, uh, that's wild. And to come from Waller, the best player on the second best player, maybe even the third, because I'll still put Hunter above all as pound for pound the best player on the team. But that's your top dog and fellow captain that's saying, listen, bro, it's either him or it's me. And at this point, with all that's going wrong with this team, with all that he's had to deal with, it really is time for Derek to ask for a trade. But let's be real. If he's as good as everybody says that he is, he's leaving. You can't continue to stick around this. How do you get up and come in and know that the rest of your squad is out here gallivanting around, screwing up, acting like vagabonds and miscreants, and you're trying to work, and year after year, it's everybody else's fault but yours? I got to tell you, I don't know about you guys, but if I can point my finger at everybody else and convince myself that it's all your fault, I got to get the fuck away from all of you. All of you, because there's no reason for me to be there. Why would I want to continue to be in a situation where I know it's your fault, your fault, your fault, your fault, your fault, your fault, because Leon can't do everything? But that's not it. There's more. So, look, quiet is kept. Rumor has it, off record, of course, so you never hear anybody admit to this. Mark Davis is fuming. Mark Davis is furious. Mark Davis has had enough. And once again, this is the Raiders franchise, so anything can happen. This could be true what I'm saying, and tomorrow they could extend them for 10 years because they do that type of shit. But Mark Davis has reached the end of his rope. He's got a business to run. He's got a team that needs to win in a market that he moved to and brought the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas. The one thing that he absolutely could not do. But now he's in a position where he's now going to hire a team president, a football guy. He's going to hire a new GM, because for all of you who had Mike Mayock sticking around for another year, I regret to inform you that after looking at this 2020 draft class that just passed, there's not a single person associated with that draft class who should continue to be gainfully employed evaluating draft classes. Just should not happen. Should not happen at all. Those who thought that Alex Leatherwood was going to be a successful right tackle in this league when you drafted a left tackle, sadly, I can't get there with you either. He got to go. He's got to go too. There's been far too many mismanagement of resources. There's been far too much emphasis put on draft picks that they can't do, that haven't panned out. And at this point, a lot of people have asked me, where do you go from here? Tell you where you go from here. You got to give Mariota a start and see what you got. You have to see what's on this team with somebody else to get an idea of if it's Carr or if it's the team. It's time. There's been so much time that's gone by, so many options. Everything has changed around the Raiders except for two things in the last 8 years. That's been Derek Carr and losing. You've changed head coaches 4 or 5 times, offensive coordinators 4 or 5 times. You've cycled in players. You've had the most Pro Bowlers in the league in 2016 and returned that entire team. And yet there are no results. I said it last week and I'll say it again and I'll continue to say it. In the NFL, when you are the highest paid player, you are supposed to be one bad MF. You are supposed to be so bad that I could give you a team of 10 nobodies and you'll carry them to the playoffs. That's what it's supposed to be when you are the highest paid player in the NFL. You are literally supposed to be the only real football player any team will ever need. Can any of you say that about Carr? They won't put Mariota in, sadly. So here's an interesting thing. Today, Bisaccia talked about Mariota and gave off all of the pros for Mariota, talked about the change of pace, the different elements that his skill set brings to the offense. The fact that he does XYZ, he can do this, he can do that. When asked about what the cons were to playing Mariota, he had this to say. And that's why you shouldn't play Marcus Mariota. That was a real convincing argument, wasn't it? Um, what I believe is it's been a contractual thing, and I was on a live late night live with my guy Stu Schweigert. You can catch him on Thy Butcher. He's got his own little YouTube page. Good dude. And he was telling me that is 100% legit. That they really and having experience with the Raiders, he said that's how his contract was set up. Was that he had playing time incentives and that sometimes guys didn't hit their incentives so that they didn't get paid. And I don't know why, for the life of me, you would quibble over dollars instead of trying to win football games when you're supposed to be in the business of winning football games. And this is some tired old stuff that you've seen wash, rinse, repeat over and over and over again. And I don't know what the deal is, but perhaps it's part of why the whole front office team decided they were going to resign at the same time, is how this organization, who has no problem with merchandise sales, who's got one of the largest fan bases in the entire country, is perpetually broke and continuously broke and never has enough money to do anything. Even when they get the salary cap under control, they still don't have enough liquid cash to go out and make a big huge splash. The Raiders have been in Vegas for 2 years. The house always wins in every spot in Vegas except for Allegiant Stadium. And the Raiders are in danger of losing the market. And I don't mean that somebody's going to come in and take it. I mean that the interest, because when you're brand new in town, you got about 5 years to capitalize on the interest in the area. You got 5 years to deliver a winner. And now they've gone through 2 years and they are doing nearly a clean sweep throughout the entire organization. They got to hire a team president. They got to hire a general manager. They got to hire a new coach, and they're looking at potentially replacing their quarterback. And in year 3 out of the 5 that you have to make to win in the new market. Now, I don't believe that they should be doing any type of a rebuild. Not any type of a rebuild. I don't think a rebuild is necessary. You have quite a bit to work with on defense. You have quite a bit of core guys. You got certain things that need to be hashed out. You need to find a quarterback who's going to use the wide receivers, trust the wide receivers, throw to the wide receivers, and have it be more than just the slot guy. Have them not stare down receivers, be disciplined with their eyes, and give guys a better shot to catch the ball than what they've been getting. And that should be enough to get you over the hump. Now, do you need a perfect QB? Um Perfect? No, I don't think you need a perfect guy. I'd very much like to see Mariota get a chance to see what he can do, and then maybe look at seeing if you can draft one of these quarterbacks that are coming out. Now, these guys aren't elite per se, but if you could pick some of these guys that they got coming out, like the dude from Cincinnati, David Ritter, or I forgot, I butchered his name, but the guy from Cincinnati is pretty smooth. He'll be available in probably the third, fourth round. You don't have to go out and spend a first round on a quarterback. I know traditionally that's what everybody thinks, but in this particular setup and day and age, and with the players that the Raiders have, they need a speed receiver and somebody who's accurate with the football, makes good decisions, and has something in the tank for when the play breaks down. And now that I've spoke my mind and ran off at the mouth for the last 43 minutes, excuse me, let's get back to the comments. Somebody, B-Boyd. I don't think I've ever seen you in here before. So first off, let me say welcome to the chat. Welcome to the Unfiltered Truth. Pleasure to have you paying attention, checking me out. Please like and subscribe. You wouldn't mind the Raiders hiring Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has never beat Ohio State in his life as a player, as a coach. Right now, we have an issue with beating the Chiefs. Jim Harbaugh also had an issue beating Seattle, and bringing him when he's been largely unsuccessful at Michigan, despite being given nearly every opportunity to succeed, does not really make me want to bring him in. Bill Cowher. Intriguing as that might be, Bill has got a cush job on the CBS morning football show. He ain't leaving that, not for what they're paying him. Joe Brady's going to LSU, but personal favorite. So here's where I am with Brian Dabble. Brian Dabble has been able to show that he can successfully develop a quarterback from nothing, a relatively unknown quarterback with a great degree of physical skills, and turn him into a Pro Bowler. If you're going to go with a younger quarterback, I would recommend Brian Dabble or Eric Bieniemy. Now, I don't the likelihood of Mark Davis hiring Eric Bieniemy is incredibly low, but I think that if you are going to bring in a young rookie quarterback or a younger quarterback, you need a guy who's going to be able to develop him. And quite frankly, I have not seen that on this team in quite some time. They brought back Greg Olson, who was the guy who worked with Derek as a young quarterback, and it worked. It helped. There were some things. I mean, let's be real. Gruden was the real quarterbacks coach there. So now that Gruden's gone, it's fallen off and gone to shit. But if you want now, somebody had said Leftwich is my personal favorite. I think that if you were to go out and be able to get yourself one of these veteran quarterbacks who are out here, and then sign Byron Leftwich and have him come in and do his thing, I think that they'll be just fine. Byron Leftwich is a quality mind. He's had experience working with Brady. He's had experience working with. He got some type of quarterback skills out of famous Jameis, and he's in line for a shot. Now that could all change if Bruce Arians decides he's ready to hang it up because he's going to work and letting everybody do the work for him and collecting a check. But I love Bruce, so what I'm saying, Bruce can keep doing what he's doing. I got no problems with Bruce. That would be the only thing that I think would keep Byron out in Tampa would be that head coaching job. Short of that, the Raiders there's a list that's put out of head coaching candidates. No matter what name we all say, no matter what name we all think about, I want the Raiders, not even what the Raiders need to want for themselves is to find a guy that is widely respected and universally liked and thought of to be the next guy to come in and turn this around. They need not look in the Raiders organization and try to bring out any more retreads because, quite frankly, nobody in a Raiders organization who's had any degree of sustained winning is coming back to coach. The last guy that you can bring back who had sustained winning is Madden, John Madden. Tom Flores ain't coming back to coach. Madden's not coming back to coach. And sadly, Del Rio's still getting paid by Mark to coach defense in Washington. He's not, or wait a minute, no, I take that back. By now, his contract is up. They actually shouldn't be paying him anymore either. But Del Rio can't come back. Del Rio can't come back. He really shouldn't be a head coach again. As a defensive coordinator, he's doing much better in Washington, but as a coach, no. What about Josh McDaniels? He's waiting for the New England job. He's not going to leave there. And now that he's finally got a quarterback, he's got a new quarterback to replace Tom with. Oh, he's not going anywhere. I would take one of his associates. Because they've learned everything from him. And because at this point, you have to do something what Al would do to make the team better. Al was not afraid to steal quality minds from his opponents. And right now, that's exactly what the Raiders need to do. They need to find these franchises who are having success, who have offensive assistants, defensive assistants, coordinators, who are viable head coaching candidates who have proven that they can do everything needed to obtain success in the organization, develop young players, scheme, break down film, teach scheme, teach technique and what it is at route combinations and all that good stuff so that things can continue to work like a well-ran machine. Once they're able to do that, then the Raiders can start to move forward. But as long as they're looking in the rearview mirror to try to go back to the glory days, they'll never move forward looking backwards. It's just not going to happen. We keep bringing up Doug Peterson. It would be Pederson actually. But how do I feel about Peterson? I thought that Frank Reich was the brains behind that Eagles team, and looking at the Colts and the way the Colts are ran, I'd say I was probably right. He went and got his quarterback in Carson Wentz. Now all of a sudden we were writing this guy off after all the injuries he had. He's out there looking like a G, playing like a trooper, and armed with the best running back in the league with Taylor, looking like some champs out there in Indianapolis. Would I go offensive or defensive minded head coach? They're in the AFC West, bro. They if they're not thinking offense, if they're not going offensive minded head coach, what are they doing? You need to put up points in the AFC West. And yes, you could have a defensive minded guy who could be all defense this, all defense that. We're going to have the two that you have to score points in the 2021 AFC West and then the 2022 AFC West moving forward. If you're not scoring points in this division, you're not winning football games. And if your mind isn't on lighting up the scoreboard, bro, well then you may be able to make it in this league, but you can't make it here. What we got in here? Lewis Riddick in line for GM. Initially, I was on that train too, Adam. To be honest with you, I was on it pretty tough. I thought that he would need to be the guy that we want to do, and uh, Riddick knows a lot of stuff about football. He's definitely a guy you'd want to sit and listen to talk ball about. But his philosophies of quarterback play are slightly different than mine, and because of that and some of his devotion to what we've previously seen, what we see on the field, I have to be hesitant in anointing that because once again, 8 years of Raider football have told me that we need to see something else. Just period. Bruh. He's what's holding you are Greg Roman is what's holding the Ravens back. Charles Woodson calls you up, says he wants a player. What do you tell him? Well, Charles, let's talk about that. I don't want to get this dude up, but you since you on the phone talking, what are you going to give me, Charles? And then Charles will get to talking to him, and all of a sudden, Charles will make it happen. Now, when it comes to the financial sides and player deals and all of that, that's not Woodson. As much as I would love to have him as GM, that's not who he is. Kellen Moore. Right now it looks like Dallas is mirroring the Raiders' path with excellent first half to the season that's now suddenly fizzling out, and they've experienced some difficulties against the AFC West and getting it done. Denver nearly shut them out, and then the Chiefs held them without a touchdown. They have offensive issues of their own, and they had Mike McCarthy, who was supposedly the architect of that wonderful offense out there in Green Bay that looks like the same one that got him ran out of Green Bay. Now that it's not going so well. There but as this continues to go on, we're going to see more and more what exactly is out there for the Raiders to look at. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself. What's up, Kev? Because there is just so much time left before the season is over. I mean, this is mid almost the end of November. They still got the whole month of December and some of January. Um, but we're reaching a time where the players have made a choice. The players are choosing what's going on with this team. You've seen the same thing 3 years in a row. For the most part, they still have time to turn it around. My faith is not in them doing that, especially having watched what they did against the Bengals and found every way to give that winnable game back to a team that really didn't really deserve to win it until the defense was completely worn out from nearly being on the field for 40 minutes of a 60-minute game. That's still crazy to me. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that. Um so we don't know what the whole scale of that is, and that's why I'm pretty much just leaving that for later on down the road. I mean, Black Friday is usually the day that everything gets scrubbed clean and then we start hearing about who's going to interview who and what they're going to do and how that's going to move forward. Do the Raiders hire a guy that may intrigue Rodgers or Wilson? Now we've heard rumors and things about how Rodgers and Russell Wilson have Las Vegas as a destination on their list of places to go. It could work out very well for the Wilson family with Russell playing football and his wife performing with a residency in Vegas. However, the Seattle Seahawks have incurred a recent scoring issue. They were scoring more under Geno Smith than they have with Russell Wilson in the last 3 games. And I don't know what's to blame for that, and neither does Pete. He was on doing his press conference today talking about he doesn't quite know what to do. He's out there, he doesn't know what to say because it's hard to come out and say things when you're getting your butt kicked every week. Russell Wilson went through all of that production to show you how he was training, show you how he was coming back. Oh, I'm back. It's on. It's cracking. He ain't won a game either. And while I know that Russell Wilson is a top tier quarterback, better than Carr, his skills are declining as well. He's not as fast as he used to be. His escapability is not what it was. And while it is still better than Carr's, and I do trust him better in the pocket over Carr, he's on his way down. Russell is 33, 34, and his playing style is not similar to Tom Brady's. So when you look at if his pocket isn't perfect, it's you. I'd have to see more of what we got going on in order to get a better feel for that. Can I get another question, please? Can I get another question, please? I appreciate y'all for handling that light work in the comment section. I didn't even really feel the need to give that a response. There's definitely, and we're now up to 31 whole people in the chat. So welcome everybody to the 32. Welcome everybody to the Unfiltered Truth. If you've never been here before, please like, subscribe, check out some of our other content. Of we've interviewed many players, we've talked to random people, we do all kinds of stuff. It's a great show. Right now I'm without my partner, but you'll have to catch us back next week or later on this week so we can do the thing. uh that is a very, very good question. So I believe that it should be a condition. It definitely should be a condition that this defense has shown exponential growth and what they've been able to do on the football field, what they've been able to do in terms of defending the pass. And because let's make no mistake, their run defense is crap because they put every emphasis on making sure that they can defend the pass. And by doing that, they've allowed themselves to be in every single game and nearly overcome all offensive issues with production and or inability to be productive. And at any time you leave your defense on the field for over half the game, you are asking for it. That's just plain and simple. You are asking for it. I would like to see them keep Gus. I believe that this defense has responded to what he's doing, and and if you look at the overall sum of his pieces for what he's had to work with, he's been significantly better than what they've had in terms of X's and O's and coordinators. Uh, it's not so much of blitz as much as it is to getting out of the 4-2-5 and finding yourself another linebacker, a strong side linebacker that's capable of running with the players on the field, and that just hasn't been KJ Wright. We pounded the table, we made all the noise. We got to get KJ Wright. It turns out that Seattle knew exactly what they were doing when they let his ass walk and didn't pay him, because KJ Wright has done very little for this football team, and it's over for him. And if he can't make it happen in the defense that got him to the Super Bowl, it's a wrap. Father Time is undefeated, and it happens to everybody. But He's given you nothing and made almost $3.5 million in order to give you nothing. All right, boss man, have a good one. Do you think the Raiders season is lost? Should they improve their draft slot? I said it before, Pedro. I'll say it again. I want to see what happens with Mariota with the starters. I, as of right now, do I think it's lost? Is it? No, it's not lost. They can come back if they were to win every game from here on out. They'd finish the year at 12-5. That's where I believe the playoffs are going to start. That's where your top seed is going to fall. Is at 12-5. The Titans are now 8-3. I believe that they got at least two more. They got to play the Colts again, and they also got to play Houston again. And I believe that they got at least two more losses on this football team because right now I don't know how they're doing it with no wide receiver. They got they Julio Jones is still out this week coming up. AJ Brown did something to his wrist and left the game last week. They got Adrian Peterson's ass out of retirement to come run the football. Deontay Foreman, who nobody wanted, and that's what they're getting by with. Ryan Tannehill hasn't looked great, so you can't really say that they're going to continue this winning that they've been doing. That defense has been playing out of its mind, but once you have a down game, you end up losing to a team like Houston. What's up, G? That's what I believe. I believe that they want him. They're ready. They're ready for him to do anything. And typically, the Raiders have had success with midseason quarterback changes with Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. Saying Jim Plunkett, anybody? Hoss? What? We've seen guys on a scrap heap who we thought were absolute trash and were done and have had no way of making it happen turn into league MVPs like Rich Gannon. But a lot of those guys are vocal and they have been vocal in their criticism of what's going on with the quarterback play for years. And if they're that vocal about it and they're seeing it from the booth and they're talking about it, you're starting to hear you're seeing players go up to them during the game. And now we're hearing about players no longer wanting to play with him. And I got to tell you, no matter what you may say about AB and how you may feel about him burning his feet and all that other stuff that he was doing, he was smart enough to realize right off the bat that this was not going to be a situation that was going to be beneficial to him and found his way out. That's the $1 million question. I don't. They didn't. Obviously, they didn't come out and say it today because why? There'd be no point. I wouldn't tell Dallas that you got to look for Mariota. In fact, I'd tell, oh, we're not going to play him. We're not going to play him. We're not going to play him. And then on Thursday, we're playing Mariota. That's what I do. But will they actually start? I don't know. I don't know what his contract situation looks like, but especially when it comes down to the the incentives with how much playing time it is. But Olson said that they were going to play him later on. Now that they have a package that they're going to continue to practice and get ready for when they can use it later in the season. Now, when he said that about later in the season, Basasha is saying that there's no cons to Mariota playing. Something is preventing him from getting on the field. I don't know what that is. Again, I can speculate, but that's the deal. Carr's backloaded. He's not. His contract's not backloaded. He's making $19 million this year and less. I think $19 million next year. And you could cut him today. You could cut him today for $0 against the cap. His contract has already been paid. All right. All right, guys. Once again, it's been an hour and 6 minutes in. I thank everybody for joining me on this voyage of unfiltered truth as I navigate this by myself without my man Jones. Look for us later on in the week. We're not gonna abandon you. We know you need some more of this good unfiltered truth, because right now somebody's got to give it to you. Somebody's got to give it to you raw and uncut, because we're headed into the point of the season where you'll start to hear whispers, you'll start to see fingers pointed, you'll start to hear about guys having late dinners or being out on the strip too long or doing everything but playing football. And meanwhile, the guy who's telling you this is the guy who's going out and stinking up the joint every week. So it is what it is. We're all Raider fans here. We're used to seeing this. You know what you're looking at. Do you suddenly expect Carr and the Raiders to be able to turn this around? Do you? Because I don't. That's not me being negative. That's not me being a hater. That's me being real. That's me telling all of you the unfiltered truth. So with that, God bless everybody. Thank you for coming in. Please like and subscribe. Tell a friend, share it. Tell everybody I'm this crazy dude who tells people the truth about what it is you're looking at, about what's going on, and letting everybody know that this here is the unfiltered truth. Take it easy, y'all. God bless.